Welcome, everyone. Back again with a very, very expert constitutional law scholar, career professional pro se litigant, professional police stalker, harasser, and lecturer, master thespian, national public figure, high school wrestling champion, game changer, and future governor, king, president of any state he has no warrants in, Jose Maria de Castro, also known as Delete Laws, also known as Chili, and affectionately known by his mother as Chelito. Today we take a look at a video titled Delete Laws is Going Live, where he is once again in his car, but this time he is parked and talking about his dislike of the U.S. Supreme Court and his future as governor, king, president of any state he has no warrants in.
Out there in the land of YouTube. I am YouTubing, as you can see. And so I just wanted to jump on for a few minutes and say hello and see how everybody was doing. Life is full of ups and downs and highs and lows. And I guess, every time I come on here, it's a call to action. It's a call for you to join in exactly what we're doing and what the whole plan is. So if you're watching this right now, the million-dollar question is, what have you done to advance yourself? How much have you learned? How much have you researched? So, there's a million-dollar question here that I always want to ask people, and it's, what are you doing right now so that you learn more, so that you know more? I'm one man, and I guarantee you, we don't stop. That's a fact. No matter what happens, we do not stop. There's no point in stopping. We've come so far. Why would we want to go backwards? Why would we want to regress? And often when I go, and I read all the comments, I see what people say to me, and I often think to myself, you must really enjoy the police state for the state of I'll see people who write my comments that I was mean to the police. Well, for years and for decades that we know of, as we all gather together on social media, what we learned together is that we have been harassed and stalked, and we have become the wall of the police department with civilized forfeiture for loss of forfeiture, where if they can arrest us, they get bonuses, accolades, and promotions. We saw nothing before that. That was at Western Florida. And so I can, oh, sorry about that. I am reading chat. I can see it. I've really done reading chat. Absolutely correct. Give me 1 second. Let me fix it. Give me 1 second. There we go. Can you guys hear me now? Give me a 5x5. Give me a 5x5 if you guys can hear me in the 1x5. How about, are we okay now? No, I don't smoke weed, my friend. I have smoked weed in my life.
Oh, really?
What year was the Uniform State Narcotic Act? Uniform State Narcotic Drug Act. But I hate to ask, but I want to smoke this weed. Yo, is Chuck in the room? Chuck Bronson? What's up, Chuck Bronson? Love your channel, brother.
Oh my.
So when we talk about Supreme Court cases and the case law, do we understand overall together that the problem that you and I have is the Supreme Court? Everybody always said, the Supreme Court said, the Supreme Court ruled, the Supreme Court held. The truth is, though, is that the Supreme Court is our problem.
As a constitutional law scholar who cites United States and Supreme Court case rulings constantly, why would he have a problem with them?
If you believe, I mean, put it the other way, if you don't believe that someone should be appointed to a position in government for life, put a 1 in the chat. If there should be no governor, no mayor, no assemblyman, there should be no city council member, there should be nobody who is appointed to government for life. If you agree with that, put a 1 in the chat. No person should be appointed to a government position.
There is no political office in the land that serves for life. Only federal judges appointed by the President of the United States serve for life. Why? Because the purpose of giving federal judges such extraordinary job security is to remove them from political pressures. This is intended to help ensure that the decisions they make are judged by law and judgment rather than trying to placate political interests to save their job.
If you think about that, who's seen the movie 300? I've seen the movie 300. I've seen it 100 times. Well, 10. I've seen it 10 times. When you see the movie 300, what do you see? You look back and there's these like gods, and they're around a fire, and they're kind of melding and molting and melding and molting, and you're just like, what are these people? Those are the people who are appointed for life in government. Our biggest problem, your biggest problem, and my biggest problem is the Supreme Court. It's an unelected body appointed by oligarchs. Put a 1 in the chat if you're not from a family with an oligarch. I guarantee you.
Despite popular conspiracy belief, Our country is not ruled by a few persons or families. It may seem like it sometimes, but we have people who are not from rich families who get elected to all political offices, even to the presidency. Barack Obama grew up in a middle-class family, yet was the president for 2 terms. Constitutionally, the president is the only one who nominates judges for consideration to the United States Supreme Court, and presidents tend to nominate those with the same or similar ideologies to them.
So if you do not have if you're not from an oligarch family where you're not a billionaire or a multimillionaire, put a 1 in the chat. Because let me just give you one. I'm not a billionaire and I'm not a multimillionaire. But yet we keep on appointing to the Supreme Court from the oligarch class who will do the bidding for the ultra elite and the ultra rich. We know that to be a fact with Clarence Thomas. That's what we're looking at today. That's what we're looking at.
He seems to dismiss the fact that those who are nominated have had lifelong judicial careers and extensive work background to merit a nomination. He acts as if their nominations are handed to them on a silver platter by virtue of who they know and who they blow.
When I say, let me give you a simple example. When I say Terry versus Ohio, who do you blame for that? What do we blame currently? We blame the police for Terry versus Ohio. We blame the police for Terry stopping us. But who really did it? Who really did it? The Supreme Court did it. Earl Warren did it. A supposed liberal Supreme Court justice. Not very liberal to say the police can stop you and detain you based on their suspicion. Who signs up to be police? Who does it? People sign up to be cops. Who are they? Anybody have a family member who's a cop in their family? The guys signing up to be cops, the men and women signing up to be cops, they shouldn't be able to look at me and decide that they're reasonably suspicious of me and be able to detain me, because that jumped the shark. It left the realm of, oh, this guy's running down the road with boxes in his arm and there's an alarm going off. That would be reasonable suspicion. It got to the point now where reasonable articulable suspicion is saying, well, I saw Chili and he was out after dark and this is a high crime neighborhood. How many people have heard this is a high crime neighborhood? How many people have heard that before?
We get it. Chile doesn't like Terry versus Ohio and thus the U.S. Supreme Court because it upheld a lower court's ruling. However, since it was upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court, it stands until it's overturned by the U.S. Supreme Court itself. No amount of him lecturing the police one by one will change that. And even if, by some small miracle, he was elected to governor of some state he has no warrants in, he could not overturn nor change in any fashion Terry versus Ohio in that state.
This is a high crime neighborhood. This is a high crime neighborhood. Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard it. How many times have you watched police videos on YouTube or TikTok, Rick Rock, or Instagram, and the cop pulls up and he says, this is a high crime neighborhood? Well, that now equates to reasonable articulable suspicion. And who are they reasonably articulable suspicious of? You. But the point of reasonable articulable suspicion is there's supposed to be a singular articulable fact that would lead them to criminality. That you've done something criminal. Do you agree with that? Because that's not what's happening. What's happening in our country is cops are seeing people who they just don't like and saying, oh, I'm reasonably suspicious of you. How many times have I been pulled over? You guys have seen me pulled over 4 or 5 times the past couple of years, and the cops want to grab me and put their hands on me.
Of course, because he doesn't comply with lawful orders. He gets defensive and combative and thinks he knows better because he's a constitutional law scholar and independent journalist who considers himself above the laws he doesn't like and thinks he can command police officers to do his bidding.
Why do you think that you have the right to grab me and put your hands on me? The Supreme Court did that in the 1968 holding of Terry versus Ohio. That extends into Mims. I will continue to talk about Terry versus Ohio until we get rid of it. Until one of us gets the governor power where we can at least change Terry versus Ohio in the state that we're in.
Governors are supposed to enforce judicial rulings, whether by their own state Supreme Court or the U.S. Supreme Court. According to georgetown.edu, a decision of the U.S. Supreme Court, a federal court, is binding on state courts when it decides an issue of federal law, such as constitutional interpretation. The Constitution issues are federal. The state trial court is thus bound by the U.S. Supreme Court's decisions about the constitutional issues in your case. Can the way policing is done be challenged? Yes. In fact, in September 2021, Governor Newsom of California signed several bills into law regarding police reform.
You must have probable cause to engage with somebody as a policeman, as a peace officer. I don't even like the term law enforcers because they are not law enforcers. Not a single person in America signed up and has a law enforcement agreement. None of them. They all have a peace officer's agreement.
Okay, and the way peace officers keep peace from turning into chaos is by enforcing the laws on the books. Chili knows that if he doesn't like some of the laws, he can go to his local representative and try to persuade them to take up the cause of getting those laws repealed. But he won't do that. He'd rather bitch, piss, and moan at individual police officers who really have no control over any law. They can, however, pick and choose who they interact with, but that's up to officer discretion.
And so I've got some friends out there who are anarchists or volunteerists. And I've said a couple things, so I just want to kind of clear the record. We're not living by the rule of law here. We're not living under an anarchist system or a volunteer system here in America. We're living under a tyrannical police state, prison state, death state. That's an absolute fact. That's what we're living under today. A police state, prison state, death state. This is not constitutional law. This is not anarchism. This is not volunteerism. Any one of those three systems would be better than the absolute police state that we live in today. That's an absolute fact.
I know I keep saying this, but his opinions are not fact. If we live in a tyrannical prison state, police state, death state, where are all the political prisoners? Where are all the people being rounded up in the streets by the Gestapo? Why are people like him allowed to voice their displeasure on any social media platform unhindered by threat of arrest? The name of his channel, Delete Laws, says it all about what he wants. He wants laws that affect him to be unenforced, if not non-existent. He condones people driving under the influence, driving distracted, speeding, etc., as long as there are no victims. This "it hasn't happened yet" attitude like he has is a dangerous way of thinking. It only takes one time to cause an accident, whether minor or fatal.
But I believe that I can get to the governorship, and at the governorship level, I can change things. For example, the central bank digital currency. That's a way to turn on and off your wallet if the government doesn't like what you're doing. The 2026 infrastructure bill, where they want to put a kill switch in your car, and they can turn your car on and off by clicking a button. They also want to put cameras inside your car, inside of the 2026 infrastructure bill, which when I'm governor, I'm going to say, no, you can't do it. The residents of this state do not want to be monitored by the government with a camera in their car or have a kill switch in their car. That absolutely goes against your right to travel.
First, he will never get elected to any political office. Governors cannot bypass federal law in their states. If Chile, by the machinations of others, as no one would elect him, ever becomes governor of a state he has no warrants in, he can try to ban new cars from 2026 on. However, he would not be able to using executive orders. Executive orders are for temporarily suspending or modifying any statute, local law, ordinance, order, rule, regulation, or parts thereof, granting clemency, commuting or pardoning a criminal sentence, declaring a state of emergency. And we all know the right to travel has nothing to do with driving a motor vehicle down a public road with no required documents, nor consequences if one is driving under the influence, distracted, speeding, etc. The right to travel is about being able to go from state to state freely, and when in whatever state, the laws of that state apply to you.
Terry versus Ohio has created, it's abused coming from an ex-cop, but that's how we were trained. Looking back, I regret it all. Well, Mr. Seaborn, thank you for your commentary. I really appreciate it. And I'm turning a corner myself as I become more, I'm trying my best to see people as individuals, and I'm doing my best to be more loving and more accepting, because we have to change the system. But you can't send a weeping willow to Washington. So Terry versus Ohio has ruined our country, but we have to fight back against Terry versus Ohio. Did you read what ChatGPT said? The vast number of cases based on reasonable suspicion. And now in Oyez, they say the reasonable suspicion is the standard of the Fourth Amendment. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is not. There's no such thing as reasonable suspicion. Let me show you just one more thing. There it is right there. I want to show this to you. So I just want you guys to see it. It's right here. I just want you guys to see it. I mean, you guys could just show me. Just let me know where you see that reasonable suspicion is in there. Here are some images of the Fourth Amendment right here. The Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their person, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. Where does that say reasonable suspicion? I don't see it. What about this one here? The right of the people. The right of the people to be secure. Come on. Show me that bad chicken. Pull it up. Let me take a look at that bad chicken. The right of the people to be secure in their person, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. You're going to see it time and time and time again. You'll see it continually, time and time and time again, that the Fourth Amendment is based on probable cause, not reasonable suspicion.
Once again, his opinions are not fact, and ChatGPT is not absolute. But people like Austin Whitsitt and Chile rely on it now for research.
The Fourth Amendment is based on probable cause where you have broken the law, not on some guy who went to an academy for 2 weeks and learned OTJ on the job over the next year, and then he can say he's reasonably suspicious of you, and the guy who's doing it doesn't have to have any knowledge of the law. According to Heem versus North Carolina, 2014, he can mistakenly say he had reasonable suspicion, investigate you, find reasonable suspicion, and then put you in torture cuffs and detain you. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. What are you doing to educate yourself about the Supreme Court laws that have stripped away your fundamental liberties? What are you doing to learn about it? How many case laws on my trifold, on my ebook, on my poster do you know and have memorized? I've got hundreds of cases in my head memorized, so many that sometimes I can mistake one case for another. I mean, there's so many cases in my head. what are you doing to learn? You know, look, I have this trifold. Now, this is one of the older ones. I always keep a trifold in my car, always. And I gave away my last couple trifolds to people who've been pulled over. If you don't have every single case on my trifold memorized, why don't you? How come you don't? How come you don't? I don't understand. You should know every single case there is. Supreme Court law, because the Supreme Court's our biggest problem.
Memorizing is not knowing. And he craps all over the U.S. Supreme Court, yet uses some of its rulings on his trifold. That trifold is worthless and will get no one out of a ticket or even unarrested. Citing a U.S. Supreme Court ruling didn't work for Chili in his arrest video. Just for fun, let's watch the body cam footage of Officer Bork arresting Chili alongside Chili's footage. Note that because the audio is not good due to the wind, I am using both audios synced together, so there will be some echoing.
You good?
Don't engage with my driver.
Why'd they say that you were pulled over? Oh, I see.
Hey, back up. Back up. You're not involved.
Oh, I see. Oh, gotcha.
You can film, but you need to stay away from my driver. Back up. Back up, or I'm going to detain you.
You're going to detain me how? In which way?
Instructions. Get away from my car.
Actually, I'm standing right here. I'm at least 10 feet away, officer. I got to tell you, I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can do whatever you want, but just understand something. Your name will go on the law school. Mind your own fucking business.
This is not your business.
Mind your own business. I'm a member of the press. Go get in your car and do your job, little doggy.
Okay.
Go feed her.
You're being detained right now.
Okay, then detain me.
You're free to go.
Oh, she's free. You're going to detain a journalist? 2015, Rodriguez.
Come over my car.
Don't put your hands on me. Don't touch me. Don't put your fucking hands on me.
I am going to put my hands
No,
on you.
you're not.
Control through Robert.
I'm going to make sure you guys make sure you guys get my people on the phone.
I have an instructor mail here.
This is so you ended the stop, you dunce cap. Did you just end the stop? So that's a 2015.
Come over here to my car.
No.
Come over here.
No. Bring your supervisor, please. Bring your supervisor, please. Don't touch me. You don't get to put your hands on me. Don't grab me. Don't grab me.
Listen, you are detained right now.
No, first get your supervisor out here. You're not just going to grab me and throw me on the ground. You've already released her. You've already released her. This is 2015, Rodriguez versus United States.
Come over to my car.
I'll walk right in front of your car. Let's go.
You're being detained for obstruction.
Come on.
You need to set the phone down on the hood.
No. I'm a constitutional law scholar. You can't take away my
Set the phone down on the hood.
I'm now.
You're being detained. You're being detained. You're putting hands on me.
No.
Come over here.
Why are you grabbing me?
Come over here to the car.
Sure.
Come over here.
Let the phone roll.
I don't care about the phone. Turn around.
I'm
Turn around. Turn around.
I'm not doing anything.
You're being detained right now. Turn around.
Get your supervisor.
Stop.
Your camera's on? Your camera's on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay,
Put your hands behind your back. You're going in handcuffs.
Why?
Put your hands behind your back.
Wait, please slow down. Just a second.
I haven't done anything.
No, put your hands behind your back. Don't make me.
If you want to detain me, then put your
I am
hands.
putting you in handcuffs.
But I'm not putting my hands behind my
You're
back.
facing the hood.
I'm
Put it behind.
Don't put it behind your back.
Right now you're going to get a ticket.
For what?
If you do not put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail. Put your hands behind your back.
Can I turn my
Do it
camera on
now.
your face now?
No.
Can we agree on
No,
that?
I don't know if you have any weapons. I don't have any weapons. Stop reaching.
There's no weapons on me, guys.
Stop reaching.
I'm a constitutional law scholar. You ascended a stop to
Put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail. I'm placing you in handcuffs right now.
For what
Turn
reason?
around.
For officer safety, right?
Turn around for officer safety.
The camera's still running, guys. The camera's still running.
I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't care about the camera. Put your hands behind your back. Do not reach for this phone.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, there you go. There you go. Please don't put those tires. There's no reason I'm not going to resist a run. Get a supervisor here, please. Don't put those tires. They're not loose. There's no reason. I'm not going to try to fight you. You grab me for no reason. I can't. My shoulder's out of time. I can't. You're going to hurt my shoulder. My left shoulder. Please don't hurt me. There's no reason to hurt me. Hey, you guys film this, please. Pull out your camera. There's no reason to do this to me. You're just exerting power. Please get your supervisor. You're going to face a lawsuit here. That's fine. There's no reason to put these on me tight. What did I do? You ended the stop, you dunce. You can't end the stop. It's Rodriguez versus United States 2015. You can't. No, I have a different stop. No, it stops now with you. No, you separate your feet as far as you can. There's no weapons on me. Go ahead, put your front fingers on my body, bro. That's what you want to do. Separate your feet as far as you can. This is as far as I can go, dude. There's nothing on me. I don't have any weapons. Separate your feet. No. Separate your feet. The camera's rolling, bro. I'm detained, officer. Hang on, okay, I'm detained. So I'm not he's under arrest. I'm under arrest.
Hit the like button. Take your finger real quick and just hit on the like button. Hit the like button. Just take your finger and just tap it right there.
Thank you, Chili. Don't forget to comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell and click all to get notified of any new content. I mean, this is YouTube, it's broken, but hey, give it a try, might work. Thank you for watching. You are all awesome. See you in the next video.